All right, good morning, neighbors. Good morning, neighbors. Good morning, neighbors. And welcome to the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. It is 7 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock on this, the 22nd day of August. On the show this morning, we just heard from Paul Richards. We'll hear from Richard Raghubar Singh. We got Ruben in the mix. My name is Steve Khan. All right, quickly, let's get into the WTs. See what's happening on the highways and on the byways and check in with your weather forecast. Yesterday was a scorcher. I got nothing to tell you. Nothing. East, west, north, and south. I've got no traffic to tell you about. Isn't that wonderful? All right. And of course, weather-wise, at Piarco International Airport is 27 degrees. It is 28 degrees at Crown Point in our beautiful sister isle of Tobago. And pretty much, let's see what our weather forecast is going to be for today. Has it been updated yet? No, but they said fair with a slight haze, but for some partly cloudy late morning, early afternoon intervals with light to moderate showers favoring northern and hilly areas. Of course, it is in Toronto. You're sitting at, as it comes up here, 15 degrees. Miami, warm as here, 28 degrees. Orlando, 25. New York, 20. Atlanta, 23. London, sunny, 21. Tampa, 25. Washington, D.C., it is 23 degrees. All right, let's see who sent us hellos first thing this morning. We're going to start with our mobile app and website. And we've got Maria Marva. Good morning. Oliver Man Warren, Miss Ingrid, Dennis, happy Tuesday. Wendy Ann, good morning. CJ out in New York, have a great day today as well. Doreen Pear, Marcia Rock, Ewart Ratchball, Mo Gaines, good morning to you all. And Ewart is saying, how you doing, Paul? Alistair Hart, good morning. And good morning to you, Paul Richards.
Morning, Steve. Morning, everyone. Good Tuesday morning to you all.
Yeah. What's shaking? What's shaking?
I
keep forgetting.
So much happening. So much happening.
Yeah. Lots happening.
Let's start with Cal.
That is such a calamity.
A calamity, yes.
Calamity.
Yeah, we got it, Steve. We got it the first time. Good one.
I thought about that whole day yesterday.
$15 million and counting.
Yeah. And you know what?
I don't know how the pilots could think that a court would not interpret what you're doing as industrial action.
I am. Exactly.
When scores of pilots calling in sick the day before or hours before, how is that not industrial action? Which you're prohibited by law from doing, engaging in. How? Really?
Well, they're not feeling well. It's
that's supposed to make the negotiations move along faster.
93 people. It just so happened they all got sick at the same time. But you know, with all this calamity, the best that Cal can do is send out a press release via social media.
What would you have them do?
No, I think the proper way to do for this calamity is have the CEO come on. If you want to use social media, for example, do a short video that we are sorry, let the corporate communication people come out.
I fully agree.
And do a video
or audio. Agree. The CEO, is it still Mr. Madeira?
Yeah. He's the man in charge, and he should have come out and have a press conference because.
Let's try to initiate that. That's the news number.
No, I tried yesterday. He's not answering. I tried yesterday evening. Didn't answer. I didn't even worry to ask the other person. But I think because all this studying.
You're right. At this level, the CEO should make an appearance and speak to the public as opposed to
one time
printed press releases. You're right.
You know, they could get the lawyers at 1 o'clock in the morning. So you can't send out a statement at that hour in the morning.
Yeah,
You
in that situation, if the CEO could have done a video or
and
appeared
let
on
me
local
tell you,
TV and said, we're working on the issue, we apologize to
is
passengers and make it a
is
little more personal.
exactly, and to me, it shows the lack of care to the people that were affected.
Well, I don't agree with that because I think they're working to
There are a
try
lot
to
of
resolve the
people
issue.
that
But
will.
I think that the personal touch of a CEO or chairman of the board
Mhm.
will go a lot better. And subjecting yourself to an interview on
Exactly.
whatever CNC TV6 right here, whatever radio station you feel to go on, the media in general, and
Yeah.
making the rounds. Because when you want to promote your new fare packages and stuff, you come out and speak.
Exactly.
So you're
Global
right.
X, they
The CEO
chartered
should actually have made a couple of appearances, or you're right, done a short video with
a
the
sh-
same information in the press release, saying,
exactly.
we're extremely sorry about what's happening. We acknowledge that it's disrupting your lives, and we're working feverishly to have this situation resolved. X, Y, and Z. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Global X, all the Global X chartered wet leased planes came from Miami. What about those in Toronto? I know a friend that was in Orlando, no communication whatsoever. They tell her to find her own way um, back to Trinidad, and she had to find her own accommodation.
What does that mean? Find your way back to Trinidad. How you do that? Take a taxi on
Exactly.
another
Well, she
aircraft,
had to
another
find her
airline.
own way back to Trinidad. Now, this is a first
So
class
what happened to
passenger,
the money I spent to book my ticket on Cal?
and she was a
You
first
gonna get a
class
refund?
passenger. No, no, what it is at Cal told her, for consideration. She could submit bills for
What?
consideration. Yeah, let
Not
me find it here.
promising a full refund? I'd want a full refund. I ain't want to
I
consider
want a
refund.
full refund. Let me see. Let me
I
get the
don't know other
information.
tickets. I want a full refund. You did
Yeah,
not
let me
hold up your end of it. When you buy a ticket,
Mm-hmm.
it's a contract you're engaging in,
Mm-hmm.
a legal agreement, that I pay
Mm-hmm.
this money, I turn up under certain conditions, and you provide airlift for me from X to Y in a timely manner.
Exactly. Let me read the message here. She finally got them Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. and was told I have to make my own travel hotel arrangements and submit receipts for consideration.
Well, it could be the consideration means that they have to vet what is submitted there, to be
Yeah.
fair.
And as a first class passenger, you're allowed
It
three
doesn't
pieces.
necessarily mean they won't honor it, but the way you read it out there, I interpret it as, well, you submit it and we consider it. Not that you won't get it, but
How
for
long
example,
do you
if someone submits something that's not in keeping with the price line that you paid and stuff like that and all of that, you understand? So that could be what consideration means.
3 free suitcases you're allowed on as a first class passenger on car. She says if I have to go American Airlines yesterday afternoon, the first piece of luggage is going to cost $30 US,
You put on
40
all,
the second, 200 for the third.
you put on all the costs that you would have picked up in trying to get an alternative arrangement in place. You put on as well. And then
One
you
flight.
submit.
There's only one aircraft that flies, one airline that flies to Toronto from Port of Spain. That is CAL. You can find it other ways, but you have to take American to Miami, Miami to Toronto, or
you
flight
gotta do some hops.
United to Houston, then to Toronto.
You have to do some hops.
You have to do some hops. But
And some people actually losing money because they would have been coming on business trips and
exactly.
some people coming to do business to provide services. So
I have
some
an
students
appointment with a lawyer on
their
Tuesday
check-in
morning.
time to go back to school in North America. In some instances, all sorts of stuff. Some people miss family engagements. I mean, it's the airline didn't deliberately do this, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's extremely disruptive.
Yeah, but I think that you should have a contingency plan.
Well, Steve, you can't have a contingency plan with 90 plus
93.
You can't. What contingency plan you can have?
No, but I mean,
This is an extraordinary situation.
Okay, so they did the air bridge and they said, okay, you use a ticket and go on the ferry. And then they have flights coming from Miami with the wet lease. What about the other places that Cal flies to?
Well, that's when they're working it out. I mean, you can't expect it to be business as usual.
No,
It's an exigent
but
circumstance.
it comes back that the communication to the
Their
public
communication to
and
passengers
those affected
was piss poor from what all the
was
reports have
piss
been.
was piss poor.
Yeah, especially when it started to evolve. And they must have been, from the time you get your first tranche of 25 pilots or 15 pilots calling sick this year, you know what, man?
Mm-hmm.
You know what, man? Or you could have at least called the passengers and said, please stand by. We're having some disruptive issues. We'll let you know if your flight is confirmed or not.
A young
As
lady made
opposed to filling up at the airport and then people are in a disarray.
a young lady from Toronto made a short video saying that they were not informed that the flights were cancelled and made their way to the airport.
I saw several videos on social media.
Yeah, well, I just go in this one, but I don't know. It is poor communication by Cal. I mean, you ain't gonna forget the prices for those tickets, huh?
At this, when you're buying short notice,
yeah. As you said, they lost $15 million during the 2 days.
Well, that's the first estimate. I think it's more than that.
I think it's more than that. I
think that's a conservative estimate.
I'll get the exact figure. But poor communication, right? Cal, you need to step up your game. I don't know. Sending out a written letterhead release via social media and email to various media houses. Yes, that is good. But you need to come out and say something to your
I agree with what you said earlier on. I think the CEO should have created a video or something like that,
Something like that.
Minister of Energy Stuart Young, when asked about it at the opening of a community center in Cascade, which I think is in his constituency, said, this cabinet is an ungrateful act. The act basically called by Caribbean Airlines pilots. He said, when you trace back to that, and I'm quoting here, the pilots sick out is all about entitlement. He continued, there's a limited pot that is the treasury, and there's so many persons who have to be looked after, the vulnerable, the aged, these customers that are hospital system, healthcare, preparing schools, etc. So I think the pilots really made an out with this move. I don't know why people think that is even if negotiations are difficult and or broken down, you are part of an essential service, and look at the mayhem you cause. Does this help your case in negotiations? Does it? No, it doesn't. And then you're prohibited by law from taking this kind of action. So I don't know.
It's like, you want to send a message out, but you affect the citizens.
Well, yeah, that's sweet. I should get my shot.
It is the same as blocking the bus route and the beacon. We want to hear you apply, but you're making us suffer. I don't know. And then the pilot says, well, we don't know anything about it. Yeah, right. Somebody come in and said, we
they said the TALPA, the union, which represents pilots, said that they did not engage in industrial action, but you did, though. You did. You did. Stop pretending. You did.
A WhatsApp message went out calling sick.
No, they ain't putting anything documented. Yourself. Come on, Steve.
No, I'm just saying.
They're not doing that. Come on. Come, Steve. That's how you do it? That's how you do it, Steve?
No, they won't do that.
That's how you do it, right?
That's how you trace it. But it's
telephone call.
Say again?
I said that's telephone calls. Hey, what happened, Roy? How you going? We don't want to
You see all these negotiations we're doing, we gotta send a message. So call in sick. Everybody on the pilot's gonna call in sick, call in sick.
I remember a couple of years ago, it was about 10 years ago in the US, the police and all of them get fired. Remember that? It was American
It
Airlines,
was American Airlines.
one of the big carriers,
I think it was
and they fire everybody. They fire everybody and got new pilots because they, like us, are not allowed to be engaged in industrial action or strikes because of the impact on the economy. I mean, think about, and from my understanding, Cal now starting to turn around or break even. So I don't know. This is quite unfortunate. Other news: 13 murders were reported between Friday and yesterday, Monday.
Yeah, I was asked that 13. I saw 16.
So, between 13 and
Anyway,
16.
above 10. That is absolutely ridiculous.
I saw the
A CPEP worker, a young couple.
in a picture with the Minister of National Security. She coming out for a picture of machine and letting they tell the public to give out some certificates to IATF officers. Dressed well, looking spanky, in a khaki. Yeah,
Who's that?
come out for that.
Uh-huh.
The Commissioner of Police.
Mm.
The one who not talking to the media. As if she feel that helping her. Well, let me tell you, that helping you. 13 murders. And it is not the murders, you know, you're going to catch people.
Oh, they know they're getting away with it.
That's probably why they continue to engage in such activity.
That is it.
And somebody go jump out themselves and talk about bail act. Well, Master Christian Allen debunked that everybody getting bail theory. Because she presented data from 2022 to 2023 May, where of over 900 murder matters coming before the courts, only 4.something% got bail. Okay? So keep singing that song. Sing it. Master Defense.
But that's a lot of people.
TALPA urges members to return to duty at CAL.
Well, I saw flights taken off, and they did say things should level off by today. I know flights came in from Toronto, Miami yesterday. I don't know about the air bridge. And I see that the incident with the autistic child is making some traction again on social media.
Again. Training.
Yeah. And but this time it's saying an autistic child is not sick as reported. I don't know.
But the child is on the spectrum. It's not a sick child.
That is exactly it.
As a special, there's a sick child is not sick. Wow, they really need training in that regard.
Yeah, they do.
And yeah, as you said, the attendant who was telling the parent to insist the child sit in the seat. After the child started responding to the overstimulation of the initial seatbelt. Clearly, and I understand you're doing your job, or you think you're doing your job, but you have to listen to the passenger too. That's
exactly.
Listen to the passenger, and then the passenger is telling you X, Y, and Z is the case. This is how we can remedy this. Listen now, or if you can't have the capability to make that decision, call a superior.
That's it. If I had an autistic child and we're in that situation, I don't know what I would probably blow a gasket because of the lack of training for the CAL flight attendant. I would have blown a gasket. So I could just even, well, I can't, but you know, the adults on that flight, the parents and grandparents on that flight is probably going, gosh, I don't know what to do. And this flight attendant is not understanding and calling my child sick. Yeah, CAL need a total
They're training in that regard.
Yeah,
Police are investigating an incident over the weekend in which a 21-year-old woman had to be detained by officers after misbehaving at a wedding.
What?
The woman is alleged to have assaulted officers who had caused to fire several shots in an attempt to keep the peace. The woman, said to be of Church Street in Cunupia, was arrested during a wedding celebration at Drew Manor, Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
When they arrived, they saw a woman intoxicated, behaving in a disorderly manner, sitting in the road. They put the woman to sit in the police vehicle and she requested to be taken back to the reception to collect her belongings.
Mm.
One of the officers got out of the vehicle and went to collect the woman's belongings, leaving her with the second officer. It's alleged the woman took a baton, which was in the vehicle, and began hitting the seat. She didn't know where it sprang. As a result, the officer who was with her took the baton and threw it in the tray of the vehicle. The woman said to have got out, took the baton from the tray, and she used it to beat the officer about his head, face, and neck. As he attempted to ward off blows and also keep the crowd from erupting, the lawman pulled his firearm and stuck out his hand, causing it to go off. Falling to the ground as he was hit in the head again, the officer claimed an attempt was made by someone to take his service pistol, and as a result, he released the magazine. Stories in the Guardian, written by Annalise, what's his name? Annalise Paul. Drunk and disorderly, all man fed up with me, my friends and my family.
That had to be a wedding.
Drunk and disorderly. Every weekend, I in the jail. I tell you. You know, I got drunk once in my life. Once. I'll never get drunk again. It was a Panorama. I drank about 15 Guinness.
Oh, good. And Guinness is 7.5% alcohol. Not that I check.
I didn't know myself for 3 days. I was lying in the bathroom floor begging for Jesus to take me.
Is the after effects is kill you.
It didn't make sense going back to the bed because every minute just ran out. When you get to the point where there's nothing to throw up but by, you know you're gone.
Yeah. Coconut water.
I was in my 20s.
No, I
never got drunk again after that. I don't know how people do that every weekend.
You know, I asked myself this. I mean, when I was growing up, we lime, we get drunk and all kind of things.
No, I just got drunk once.
I remember the last time I got drunk, I got a terrible migraine for days. So I have a fear of that now. But
I thought once was enough for me. I don't know how people subject themselves to that every weekend.
No, but I asked myself that.
I guess some people have a higher tolerance for alcohol consumption. I don't.
I knew a guy. I still know him. He's an alcoholic. And I did ask him this year. I think he's still alcoholic, I think. Don't you all get a hangover? He said, no, we don't. We just keep on drinking. And then these fellas that drink beer rum. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. I drank puncheon once.
I drank puncheon once and couldn't remember anything after that.
And it wasn't ready to drink it because I had the flu, the cold, and somebody suggested I drink puncheon.
Puncheon, lime, and honey.
And when I ingested the puncheon, she said like a shot glass. Mm-hmm. You know, like you feel fire going down your throat. I knew exactly where my esophagus was. Mm-hmm. I knew where my alimentary canal was because I felt it going down and going through my body. I said, people drink that every day.
Mm-hmm. I know a guy. He doesn't drink. He's not a drinker. Go anywhere he wants soft drinks and so on and juices. But every evening with his evening meal, he takes a shot of puncheon. and he hasn't gotten sick in 10 years. I see this as we're moving along. I haven't played the video, but I am. It is Ruben just sent it to me again, where a Honda Vezel was stolen by someone using a laptop.
How?
I have no clue. I'll send you the video. He goes and he stands outside the driver's door. He's on his laptop. He opened the car. Yep, the lights just blinked. I mean, I have a HRV, so he's checking to see the doors are open. How they do that? I'm so gonna Google that today. I'm sure there's a video on it.
But they're professionals, Steve. So think about it. That's the walk in.
Oh, he's trying to use it. Well, he buy a couple of cars and he's trying to see which one works to open the door.
That is the walk.
Yep, he opens it. He opened the car door via the laptop and jumps in.
I just got the funniest answer from him. Still young. Oh gosh.
What did he say? What did you ask him first?
To talk about Carl a bit, Come on.
What he said?
Nah.
He's the line minister for Cal.
No, he's not. He's the energy minister. The line minister for Cal is, I think, a call member. But we'll be having the Minister of Labour on later on this morning, Minister Steve McClatchy. So we can ask him about that and minimum wage. And also we'll have Kiran Singh, who is the president of the South San Fernando Business Chamber. Tomorrow on the show, we have Dr. Leslie Ann Noel, who is a Trinidad and Tobago born academic based in the US. She wrote a book called Social Change Agents. So we talked to her about that. On Thursday, we're talking about the International Financial Center with John Outridge. And on Friday, we'd have Carla Gonzalez on the show talking about her fundraiser. She's raising funds for surgery. So that's what you can look forward to in the coming week. And of course, we're throwing a few surprises. Yes, I think she has some hip issues, if I'm not mistaken, but she'll explain in detail when she comes on Friday.
That's from winding down too low.
Carla was a dancer for a long while.
I know Carla's from winding down too low.
Yeah.
I'll tell her that. I will tell her.
She's a dancer.
Well, let me send this thing for you. Yeah. All right, that's for you. I heard it reach.
Yes.
Right. Yes. All right. 35 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Power 102 Digital. Good morning to you, Chris Toussaint. Good morning, Sexy San Fernando. Good morning, Mike Black, Kazim Mohammed.
So let's roll into a newspaper today.
Yeah, let me just say hello to those others.
Finish the hellos.
Yes. Beefy Smith, good morning to you. Mike Black, Rena Bodu Jennings, good morning. Randy Kelly, Lincoln, Winston Jones, good morning. I
was going to go to the papers, huh? So must see Mr. Agobatin before I get buff again. So that come back and I favorite.
Morning, Shireen Jack, Leonard
Knight.
Knight.
You give me anxiety every morning, Anxiety.
Brenda Isaac, Brent Sylvester, Sunil, good morning. Gloria Grace, Lincoln, Lando, good morning. Mrs. R, H.S. Wilson, good morning to you as well. Rampage, good morning to you as well.
Morning, Agbasi.
Oh, there's
Good
a
morning,
next
Paul. Good morning,
morning,
Steve.
Shireen.
Good morning to our listeners. But Paul, all I say is good morning. I don't ever say anything.
It's the way I say it, though.
All I say is good morning.
It's the way it is. Like,
Yeah.
good morning, exclamation point. Good morning, exclamation point. It's not just good morning. Do you have papers?
Before I
No,
get
I
it,
don't. Sorry, that is what I.
pull it up by the time. I'll just give you, because I didn't get his video, thank goodness. But Rampage, there was an accident on the solo last evening. And a video is circulating where the man was ran over on the highway last night. And a few times, actually, by a few vehicles, and was actually dismembered.
Oh my God.
I don't want to see that video, but I know traffic was horrendous on the solo yesterday evening.
Is it that graphic? Should we air it if it's that graphic?
No. I haven't seen it. I don't want to look at it, so don't air it. I don't have it.
What's the video of the man being run over? No, I'm not playing that.
Yeah. I deleted.
Yeah,
Morning, Carol Guevara. All right, you got your papers there, bro?
Horrible. All right, let's go with the online versions. Then it's Tuesday, 22nd of August. Let's start with the Trinidad and the Daily Express. We are sick of Cal. Scores of passengers hoping finally to get onto flights. Caribbean Airlines, who were left stranded at Piarco over the weekend. Cal is said to have lost $15 million in counting. Stewart, an ungrateful act, referring to what pilots did. Family of an autistic child complained of rude treatment on Cal flight. Where is Cal's CEO? Is one of the stories in the Express. See what we were talking about this morning. This is a time when the CEO is supposed to come front and center and sending press releases, Cal. But 13 shot dead in 4 days in Trinidad.
The CEO is not Gavin Madeira.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he usually is very press heavy.
Well, it didn't happen this time because I don't know if he's on vacation, but you could do a video from vacation on your phone and send it, as opposed to press releases. Court orders pilots back to work. Yeah, those press releases are too cold given the gravity of what's happening with Cal.
Yeah.
Move to the Guardian now. Cal, counting millions in losses, apologizes to passengers, blames pilots for disruptions. Travelers vow to stay out of Tobago. Cal counting millions in losses. This is the Guardian, by the way. Aruka man and girlfriend fatally shot in car. Second, LGE recount delays, swearing in of Arima officials. Drunk woman beats cop with baton at wedding. Young called to account for gun donation to TTPS. And brother of murdered teen. He knew his killer. Woman shot in broad with officers, and a picture, of course, of passengers at the Piarco International Airport, looking to see if they could get out or in or wherever they're trying to go, given this situation with Caribbean Airlines and its pilots. Let's move now to the news. The outgoing mayor tells new councillors. Okay, right, go on. Cal obtained injunction against pilots as fallout continues. Police woman vacate Port of Spain City Hall Auditorium. 13 million Cascade Community Center opens. Young slams entitled pilots. Cal disruptions really bothering me. Outgoing mayor tells new councillors, you are the voice of Point Fortin. IE out of World 100 finals. Fraser Price cruises in. Couple shot dead in Aruka. Prison officer shot in face in Malaga. Was a really horrific story also. Cal gets emergency injunction against pilots. Calamitous runaround. Passengers slam airlines poor communication during disruption. And that is the issue, the communication or lack thereof. NTA gets Alderman in Diego Martin and New York Street, codenamed Trinidad and Tobago Street. So those are trending stories in your Express, Guardian, and Newsday for today, Tuesday, the 22nd of August, 2023.
I suppose we could take the poll from what would have, I saw, it wasn't exactly a poll, but it was a man in the street question yesterday in the news. But they were asking people generally, do you support the pilots in their strike action? Yeah. The alleged strike action. Let me put it alleged because they say it wasn't the strike action.
In their action. It's called the action.
Yeah. Their action for better in their negotiations with Cal. Do you support the pilots and their action with regard to Cal? Because they did it on droves on Monday, calling sick, which is definitely action of some sort. So we can ask that as the question to get a sense of what people thought. The man in the street yesterday, I mean, if not 100%, 99% were in favor of the pilots, believe it or not, that felt they had the right to stand up and
You would just stand your ground there.
Yeah.
stand up for their rights with regard to their remuneration.
Yeah.
So I found that
Well, let me
interesting.
get the read.
A lot of people in the street were like, no, if they haven't had any negotiations for several years, they're entitled.
All right. Well, let me give the results from our poll yesterday. We asked you yesterday, should the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, apologize for his comments about the Guyanese dollar? That was our poll yesterday. Results are in.
Yes, yes.
70%, 70 said yes. All right. So let's get into this morning's poll. Our lines are working. We worked feverishly on it yesterday, got it working. 222-8255. North Americans, toll free 866-525-1099. Of course, on YouTube, you can send us yes or no. We'd love to know where you're watching us from and calling us from as well on our mobile app and website. Winston Jones says no to the poll. H.S. Wilson says yes. Lincoln, yes, I support the pilots. Lando, or the video, I'm guessing it's a video talking about the accident. It's very graphic. Ugh, don't want to see that. Yes, Lincoln says yes, I support the pilots.
So that's our poll this morning. Do you support the action of the pilots regarding CAL, of course, which brought the airline basically to a halt on Monday? 222 talk. Sunday, sorry.
Yeah.
222 talk, 222-8255. Yes, because yesterday was on Monday. North Americans, 866-525-1099. That's absolutely toll free to North Americans. People in other parts of the planet, 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255. People on the web and the app, or you can send your votes via the messaging portal there. And people will be glad to know with regard to theater, we managed finally to get some space in Naparima Bowl. We have not been to Naparima Bowl for the year, and it's one of our favorite theaters of all in Trinidad and Tobago. We finally got some space next week, so we will be doing the final performance for Southerners of What You're Looking at Me So For on Saturday night next week. It should go out, I think, by tomorrow. So Saturday night next week, the 2nd of September, Saturday, the 8:30 p.m., we will be doing the play What You're Looking at Me So For in San Fernando at Naparima Bowl. Naparima Bowl is like coming home when we go to South, because we have not been there for the entire 2023. So we are so glad to be back there next week, Saturday. So South, you get one final performance of the play. We've only been there once with this play. So this is the second time we'll be there. So and I know it was so well received at SAPA. I mean, hundreds of people came out and people had a wonderful time. So this is the absolutely final performance for South and absolutely final performance period of the play What You're Looking at Me So For next week, Saturday at Naparima Bowl. But we're taking your poll votes at this point. Do you support the action of pilots regarding CAL? 222-TALK, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099. Other parts of the planet, 1-868-222-TALK. And of course, people on the web and the app, you know what to do.
Dennis from Digger Martin says, no, I do not support such actions. Sonny didn't send a response. Mike Black says no to the poll. Carol Guevara says no to the poll. Winston Jones, well, Winston, you Winston is asking, does CAL make a profit? I don't know.
I think the last report I saw is that they broke even. They were starting to break even.
Yeah, that was the last I heard.
They were making profit prior to COVID.
Yeah.
All right, so send your messages. Give us a call, 222-8255, toll-free North Americans, 866-525-1099. 1099. It's our numbers directly into our studio. All
So
right,
do
give
you
us a call.
support the action of pilots regarding Cal? So of course there was many pilots called in sick on Sunday,
Coincidentally.
Yeah,
which
the
caused a disruption of flights. So do you
Coincidentally.
support the action? Of course, they're in negotiation with Cal for their remuneration. So do you support the action of pilots regarding Cal? That's our poll this morning. What says you?
Good morning, caller.
Morning, Steve.
Morning.
Morning,
Jem,
Richard.
how you going?
Good morning.
They're hanging in like Soupy hanging on. Morning, Paul.
Good morning, Gemma. How are you, darling?
Fine, fine. I just calling to
It's
see
wonderful to hear from you. Glad to know that you're all right.
I'll be looking at earlier the phone, you know.
Oh,
Very good.
Nice.
Looking at earlier, right? So blessings, good morning. All God's blessing on you. Richard, darling, how you going?
I'm good, John. Mercy, I just give her a little wave. Mwah.
Yes, darling. Yes. So blessings, all God's blessing. Have a nice day.
All right. Thank you, Gemma. All the best.
TV, right? Okay.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
All right. Good morning.
Hey, morning, guys.
Morning.
I just thought of a piece of information that you all may need to add to make a fair poll is to mention that the pilots were protesting for the salary increase from 2015 to 2018.
So
Not
our
even to
poll this
2023.
morning, our poll is, do you support the actions of pilots regarding Cal?
Yep.
I'm saying to
It's just
get
a yes
fair
or no.
poll, you must understand why the pilots are protesting and
So
when they're
therefore,
protesting
so
from.
you saying yes, you support.
But he said yes already. He said yes
Right.
already.
That's it.
I already
Thank
voted
you.
online.
All righty.
Yeah. Okay, Lincoln, thanks. So they were protesting 2015 to 2018 salary negotiations in 2023. I suppose that's the point that what Lincoln is making. So do you support the action of pilots regarding their negotiations with Cal and as for the period 2015 to 2018?
Yeah. Alistair Hart says no. Rena Jennings says no. Let's see. Mr. Carapo says no to the poll. DJ Ray out in Delaware. Well, I'm getting this message here from you, DJ Ray. Carl Worker. Good morning to the breakfast crew. He says Carl Worker. Yes to the poll. D says, so I say yes to the poll. Miss Ingrid, absolutely yes. Thank you so much. All right. Do you support, that's our morning poll, do you support the actions of pilots regarding Cal? Yes or no? 222-8255, toll free, North Americans, 866-525-1099, on YouTube, on our app, and our website at power102fm.com. You have 10 minutes again to vote before we head up to major news with AV. All right, let's see. CJ out in New York says yes. Thank you, CJ. Hope all is well with you, Charmaine.
So
All
to
right,
the
do you
two
support the actions of pilots regarding Cal?
Yeah, are you in support? Do you support the action of pilots regarding their remuneration with Cal? Their salary negotiations, I guess you could say, with Cal for the period 2015 to 2018. That's our poll. Do you support the action of pilots regarding Cal? 222 Talk, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and app, you know what to do. Are you checking the YouTube votes too, Steve?
Yeah, just have Terrence Brown saying no.
So what says you? Do you support the action of the pilots?
Yeah, DJ Ray says yes. Paula, absolutely yes. Thank you so much, guys.
It caused major disruption. And of course,
Anyway.
Cal also had some bad press with regarding the autistic child, which I assume you spoke about, Paul.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, the autistic child on the flight.
Brought it up yesterday and a little bit this morning.
Yeah. I suppose we could have reached out to the father, Mr. Ramu. Is it Ramuta? Richie Ramuta, I think is his name. So, do
M.
you support?
Cooper says yes. Thank you, M.
Have
Cooper.
they gotten back to any semblance of normalcy? Does anyone know?
Carl, get in there.
Well, I know they had makeup flights.
Yeah. And I saw flights coming and going last night and this morning.
Well, I guess the question is, had there been any more cancellations of flights?
I don't know.
I didn't hear about any more cancellations because, well, the court ordered the pilots back to work. So. Never a dull moment.
No, it's not.
The Prime Minister back?
I don't know. Wonder if you got a flight.
Good question.
I wonder if he got a flight. I wonder if he was stranded.
Disrupted also, so. And if you get a flight, that could be a whole scene too.
Do you support the action of pilots regarding Cal? That's our poll this morning.
I'm afraid to send for the Prime Minister. But to leave me here.
Behave.
All right.
222-8255.
Did you give M. Cooper's vote on YouTube?
I did.
Okay, so I recorded that already.
Michael Cooper. Well, he said yes. Terrence Brown said no. I give it.
No, Michael Cooper said yes.
Yeah, and Terrence Brown said no.
No, I recorded that already.
Yeah.
Did you? Are you now giving me Michael Cooper? Or you're giving it to
Yes, I'm now giving it to you.
Oh.
I can see it pop up here. So write that down. All right. Do you support the actions of the pilots? Do you support the action of Cal's pilots? From Sunday's sick out, 93 of them. I can't come out today as I'm not feeling well.
If you wouldn't have disrupted the YouTube stream, I've asked you to play Problem Child's new song. I know people get wrong to this in about 6 months, but
I cannot play music on YouTube. Cannot.
Nothing wrong with my eyes. I just can't come into work today.
I could also play a song I normally play sometimes. I call it in sick.
A slick man. Oh, did they have some votes coming in?
Gloria Gray says yes. T. Gray said no. Slick Money Grip says no. Thank you, guys. Where are my calls? 222-8255. North Americans, toll free 866-525-1099.
So do you support the action of pilots regarding Cal? This took place on Sunday, and we're still feeling the after effects. Well, travelers are still feeling the after effects.
If my friend came back yet.
So,
that's how calm we take them to team with us over the weekend.
we didn't take it calm, you know. I saw it. It was very
because there's no uproar. I mean, in any other countries, mayhem, but it's like a normal thing for sure. Which is so sad. You realize that?
Yeah.
It's just something we read about and move on.
A young couple in Aruka side got
very
killed.
sad.
Just so disturbing. 13, you know. Well, that's the lower end of the estimation. Eh?
Yeah. I heard 16. So, anyway,
One
it's about
weekend.
10 for a weekend. When are they going to get a grip on this situation? When?
I seen did Dave Gosan say no. Did you give me that on
No.
YouTube? You didn't give me that.
No. Kazim said no.
Kazim Mohammed says no, and well, Dave Gosan said voted already.
And Miss Ingrid voted already. She's just saying
3
hello.
this afternoon, Jerry Richards will be running his semi-final race of the men's 400 meters at the World Athletics Championships in Budapest, Hungary. So we wish him all the best. He's running in Heat 3. Or running in Heat 3, he finished in 45.15 seconds. So he's qualified for this semi-final this afternoon.
What time is that?
3 p.m. today. I think it's TP time. So, and are you all watching the Trump case unfold?
I think he has until Friday to surrender or something like that. Oh, we have some calls coming through. Let's go. Oopsie. Good morning.
Good morning, Sandy Grande. Say yes. Once they have a medical certificate in their hand, they can stay home because the doctor said they're sick. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, caller. All right.
Now, do you need a medical certificate for the first day?
I don't think so. I think after 2 days, you need a certificate.
Mm-hmm. Never a dull moment.
Thank you, Mrs. R. She sent me the problem child. So as you talked about it, Paul, she did not stick. She sent it to me instantly.
People get around it in about 6 months. And they go, oh, he just got new song.
You want me to play it now? I can play it now. You know,
in about 6 months, people get on and say, well, you hear this hot new problem child song? And everybody then beat out the song already.
You go ahead. You beat up on me. You go ahead. You go right ahead.
Anyway, at 8 o'clock or after you take it, please, Steve.
You're sure about that? All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring you up to date now.
Yeah. You know, I need that. Good morning, caller. Good morning.
Steve,
Yes.
morning again. I'm not supporting the pilots. You know why I'm not supporting them? The inconvenience to all people. Look at the poor little child, the little 3-year-old child, all this kind of thing. I cannot support that at all. No way.
Yeah.
Go on.
All righty.
Go on.
It's like the idea of total policing to disrupt everybody.
This is a vote from Gemma that we didn't record.
Yeah, that's Jem.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Movas. Is this Ish? No?
No, right.
All righty. Thank you, buddy.
What was his vote?
No.
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Why are you confused so?
I don't know. I'm confused.
You need some ginseng up or something, you know?
Oh my goodness.
The man now say yes, yes, the man say no. We can't let you work EBC at all, boy. Nah. You'll be caught every Monday morning.
That's it.
Jeez.
You see? My same friend who had to find her own way back didn't get any communication from Caribbean Airlines.
I think that's part of the issue. From what people were saying, they didn't get any information until they got to the airport. And then when they got to the airport, they were just being told we have resource constraints. You know how frustrating that is when you're 4 hours after your flight's supposed to leave, you just hear we have resource constraints. But I guess from a legal perspective, they have to be careful what they say.
Okay.
But passengers want more information. They just don't want to hear we have resource constraints. So you sit down there for 6 hours. I know somebody who sat there for 6 hours when their flight was supposed to leave, and they were just being told we have resource constraints. Should I go home? Should I wait? Well, we can't say anything. You understand? That is frustrating.
So in some breaking world news, you have 8 people trapped in a cable car in Pakistan over a ravine. 6 children and 2 teachers.
Dangling over.
dangling over a ravine in Pakistan.
What?
900 feet in the air, and they're trying to rescue them.
900 feet?
I could imagine how terrifying that is.
Yep.
I'll freak out. All right, let's get into our news. AV is giving me the eye. Wink, wink. That one of those eyes? Okay. Let's get into our news.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Caribbean Airlines lost an estimated $15 million during the weekend's long flight disruption suffered as a result of a massive sick-out by pilots. Government defends its treatment of CAL. A former opposition government minister supports local government reform, and rescuers struggle to free children stuck in a Pakistan cable car. Details in a moment. This is News to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Afril Centel Bob. Good morning. Caribbean Airlines lost an estimated $15 million during the weekend long flight disruption suffered as a result of a massive sick-out by pilots. This as the airline was forced to charter aircraft, pay compensation, provide accommodation and meals for stranded passengers in TNT and the region, and seek an injunction against the pilots' union. According to a report in the Trinidad Guardian, the airline is still, however, unable to quantify its reputational damage. The airline has scheduled 8 recovery flights today from TNT, Guyana, Barbados, Grenada, and Orlando. Meanwhile, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Stuart Young, is defending the government's financial injection in Caribbean Airlines. His comments come on the heels of Sunday's major disruption of several CAL flights. Speaking at the opening of the Cascade Community Center on Monday, Minister Young said the ruling administration demonstrated a responsible approach with the use of taxpayers' money, especially throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, to keep the carrier operational after such a challenging period. The Young then extended his appeal to the national community to desist from any practice which can cause disruption or interrupt national development. The recount of ballots in Arima Northeast is expected to be done by the Election and Boundaries Commission on Thursday at 10 a.m. The PNM and UNC tied for the Arima Northeast seat, and the UNC requested a recount. Following the recount, the EBC stated that the UNC Jarzino Rigsby had won with one more vote, a total of 624, while the PNM's Kim Garcia got 623 and PEP's Kurt Clement 81. The PNM subsequently requested that the EBC check certain ballots which the PNM had questioned. PNM officials said they received notice yesterday that the check would be done on Thursday in Arima. Former Government Minister Dr. Bo Tiwari is in support of an improved local government system which will be able to track the progress of the nation in areas such as housing, its impact on communities, the employability of those in the household, and strengthening of regional corporations. The former University of the West Indies campus principal cited the benefits of an upgraded local government arrangement under which people can be empowered. Dr. Tiwari was speaking during an interview on the afternoon Power Drive program on Power 102 Digital on Monday. He cited the advantages which can be derived when both local and central government work together. At 3 p.m. on Tuesday, Trinidad and Tobago athlete Jareem Richards will run in the semi-final race of the men's 400 meters at the World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary. Richards, running in Heat 3, finished third in a time of 45.15 seconds in his opening race, a performance which earned him automatic qualification in the race. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. A rescue operation is underway as 8 people are trapped in a cable car dangling above a ravine in Pakistan. 6 children and 2 teachers have been stuck 274 meters, 900 feet above ground for several hours in Battagaram. There is also a heart patient in this cable car. He's 16 years old and he's been unconscious for the past 2 hours. The group were traveling to school when cables snapped at about 7 a.m. local time. An army helicopter has been dispatched, but emergency services are being hammered by high wind. Pakistan's acting prime minister has ordered rescuers to attend the really alarming incident in Batagam, which is located 125 miles north of Islamabad. Alai in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province is a mountainous region area. It's a beautiful area but has no road infrastructure or basic facilities. Cable chairlifts are used for transportation from one mountain to another and for transporting water and food. School children also use them. Settlements are spread far and wide. These people are stranded in at about 300 meters. Alai has an altitude of more than 4,500 meters above sea level. Finally, here's the weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago sunny and at times breezy conditions are expected, despite brief showers. Tonight will be fair. Seas, or rather, look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature is 28 degrees Celsius at Piarco and also at Crown Point in Tobago. Recapping your headlines at 7 o'clock. Caribbean Airlines lost an estimated $15 million during the weekend. Long flight disruption suffered as a result of a massive sick-out by pilots. Government defends its treatment of Cal. A former opposition government minister supports local government reform, and rescuers struggle to free children stuck in Pakistan cable car. I'm Avril Sindhilbav. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All righty. Thank you, AV, for our major news. You can join us again come 8 o'clock for our news brief. It is 9 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock on this, the 26th day of August. All right. Quickly, let's take a look what's happening on the highways and the byways. You got the traffic from Trinidad City towards UE on the highway, and of course from UE, smooth sailing in the Port of Spain. Just by swim call, you'll step on your brake, but at least you're moving. Eastern Main Road going through by Macoya Page and by Uriah Butler Highway and the Eastern Main Road. You got a little build up there as well. Let's head down south, see what's happening there, and make our way up north. In San Fernando, nothing to tell you about. You're going to get some traffic this morning. St. Margaret's Village heading towards Claxton Bay. That's a bit heavy this morning. Leaving, if you're entering San Fernando from the Solo, you got some traffic by Turuba Link Road. Slow going from San Fernando to Aruba till Forest Park. And after that, you're pretty much clear until you get to Chase Village. You got the usual moving traffic there. The road busy heading towards Couva Point Lisas. And that's it. All right. So that's a traffic update for you. Richie Rich, I've got Ish out in Malik saying no. Morning, Ish. And I've got Central Animal Lover saying no to the poll. I've got Leonard Naipaul saying yes.
No, I took Leonard's vote already.
Beauty Culture saying no.
I got that vote already.
Who else? Yazid. Okay, he didn't vote. Okay. And that's it, Richie Rich.
All right. So our poll this morning, do you support the action of the pilots regarding the Cal issue? We had 30 people voting on the poll, and actually for a lot of it, it was pretty even, huh?
Yeah. Randy Kelly says yes, just snuck it.
A lot of it was pretty even in terms of the poll. So we have 31 people voting. Of the 31 people, 15 of you said yes, you support the pilots, and 16 of you said no.
Whoa.
So 15 people said yes, and 16 people said no. So it was pretty even. Of course, opinion, at least from our show this morning, is evenly split in supporting the pilots in their dispute with Cal. I know last night on news it was like 99% supported the pilots in terms of people who were interviewed on the street. So our poll indicates it's pretty evenly split. So 15 people said yes, and 16 people said no for a total of 31. Of course, we'll continue to vote on this poll throughout the day, throughout programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, which will be Wednesday, midweek.
Well, I think we can ask the Minister of Labour what he thinks. Good morning, Minister McClatchy. Stephen McClatchy is joining us this morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I think you're still muted.
You're muted. Still muted.
Still not hearing you for some reason.
Check your mic.
Yeah,
Let me-
sorry,
right.
I was on mute.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm okay now.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning to you, morning to the co-host, morning to Trinidad and Tobago.
What say you to our question this morning?
I would have to say I do not agree with the pilots, simply because I do not think that they used all the options that were available to them. And I think for most people who would say yes, they obviously don't have to travel or have to go anywhere today or tomorrow.
Can you give us an update at all on what has been happening? I know the industrial court granted an injunction to CAL in terms of the injunctive relief, to CAL in terms of the pilots, in parentheses, stick out. I mean, TALPA said they won't engage in industrial action, but come on. We know what happened there.
Yeah, well, we know it's they are a essential service, and therefore they are not supposed to be involved in industrial action. But I think if you look at the issue and the trend, one can ascertain or one can extrapolate that it is industrial action, and I think the court was right to give injunctive relief. We at the Ministry of Labor are engaged with both the union and the company to understand the issues, because within the IRA, the Industrial Relations Act, the minister has the right in the public interest to engage parties involved in disputes and to bring them to the table and seek resolution. As of last night and yesterday, we would have contacted the union, and we are looking at the facts of the matter and trying to get the parties to resolve the issues short of the kind of actions we're seeing now. My own view is that the union could have used the reconciliation process that we have in the ministry to bring the company, CAL, to the table for discussions and resolution before taking the action they did. But I think it depends on where you stand and what side of the fence you stand on. You may feel that that is not worth it and that you need to send a stronger message.
How much of this is as a result of this scenario in Trinidad and Tobago, where negotiations, for one reason or another, are not completed in many people's estimations in a timely manner, and we are negotiating for, I think in this case, 2014 to 2018, and that adds a layer of frustration to those who are thinking that their packages need to be upgraded.
Well, I could understand that, but you would know that negotiations can sometimes be quite complex and technical. And to say that the one party or the other is to blame for that wouldn't be fair, given that both parties have their positions and hold their positions. So if a negotiation is taking 4 or 5 years to complete, what it says to me is that both parties may be unwilling to move, or both parties have issues that they hold strongly to. And sometimes the workers may be frustrated by that, but both parties at the end are looking for what is best for them.
Let me tell you what's frustrating to workers sometimes, and this is something I've heard. You will hear, and this is not exclusive to Cal. Well, we are in dire economic times now, but the period we're negotiating for, we had good economic times, or better economic times. Let me say better economic times. So that this pervasive issue of retroactive negotiations, and I understand how you explain it because they're technical. Is it an issue of a law needing to be amended or a framework needed to be evolved to facilitate smoother, more timely negotiation completions?
One of the things that I have also heard and I have seen firsthand, Paul, is that very often unions do not send in their proposals on time. And in fact, sometimes they take as much as 2 years after the negotiations were supposed to have started to send in their their proposed terms and conditions. So on both sides of the fence, you have the issue of one, people not sending in their documentation on time, and two, on the company side, sometimes they stall for various reasons best known to them to get these things started. And when they do start, it's always one party is not quite ready and they have to postpone, and the other party is not ready. And so it gets into all kinds of issues that again, depending on what side of the fence you sit, you're going to find it quite frustrating. Now, I don't think that you need to have a special law to move these things. The law is quite clear. Practice also dictates that you don't wait for a negotiating period to end. Many times people have sent in their proposal 6 months before close, a year before. But what we generally see is people almost waiting for the end of a period before they start negotiating for the other.
Mrs. Pasabi is on record as stating that her government had been much more successful in completing a lot more negotiations in a timely manner. And this government does not have that track record. How do you respond to that?
I do not have that data. If she says that they have been a lot more successful, well, then I really, from where I sit this morning, I cannot say that she has been. And I wouldn't get into
But
about.
if you don't have the data, how can you say she hasn't been as the Minister of Labor?
What's that?
As the Minister of Labor, I would presume that you would have that kind of data. And if you don't have the data, how can you debunk her proposal?
I am not debunking her proposal. I am saying I do not know. I am not tracking how many negotiations UNC or Passad government would have been successful or negotiated. I am dealing with what is before me now. To do so is of no value to me.
Do you think how would you describe the industrial relations climate in the country presently? I mean, this kind of thing is one thing. The unions had been agitating for a while in various sectors, private and public sector representations.
I think that the current labor climate is not the best. I think we have a lot of issues being dealt with at the same time. And, one can only go on the backdrop of the 4% that government has offered to the public service and the protective services and stuff. And we all know the pushback and what that has created. We have the CAL issue now. We had the issue of which company in the energy sector recently with OWTU that they escape me now. So you have had a number of companies who have been in the forefront fighting for negotiations.
You always have negotiation periods coming. You always have negotiation periods coming up in any administration's timeline. And I know for the 4%, some unions have accepted the 4%, but of course, the elephant in the room, the PSA, I believe, has not.
No.
And the PSA, which is I'll call it the elephant in the room because they represent the most of the public sector, and they also have not signed on the issue of the retirement age going to 65, which many unions are opposed to. And when we have spoken to union leaders, part of the objection is that the loss of benefits in terms of people who can retire at 60. And I'm tackling this question to you, Minister. Why doesn't the government, if it is an NIB concern, which came out of the actuarial assessment that the retirement age should go to 65, which a lot of countries have done, why as a state don't we say, okay, we're taking the age to 65, but all people, there's a transition period of 5 years, all people who are retiring in the next 5 years can elect to retire at age 60 with no loss, but they can also elect to go straight to 65 or any period in between without any loss in terms of their remuneration. So it eases the transition and the animosity that people have towards it.
That is quite a logical and sensible approach. On the issue of age 65, what I would say is that there is a discussion. There is not a formal document on the table that seeks to arrive at how it will be operationalized. I agree with you wholeheartedly that one cannot come and get up next day and say it is now 65 without looking at its impact on people. Many people would have made retirement decisions 10 years ago, and therefore it would be unfair to unilaterally say to them that you're now going to go home at 65. So I think there would be some level of dialogue and there would be some level of what we are doing now, discussion in the public and private sectors to determine if we go that way, when we go that way, and how do we go that way. But I agree with you wholeheartedly that one has to offer different streams in the implementation of such a proposal.
There are several issues that came up during the pandemic and before. One of the major issues in this country that the private sector raises, and I guess the public sector has been affected by it too, and that I guess I know, is the issue of productivity. As the Minister of Labour, do you think we've done enough to deal with this productivity issue in the context of the country's competitiveness? Because if we are to be a competitive country in terms of the manufacturing of the goods and services, particularly in the manufacturing sector, even in the energy sector, we have to become more productive. We have to increase those indices.
That is an issue that is very active in the Ministry of Labour. In fact, there is a note before Cabinet right now with regard to the appointment of a National Productivity Board. I'm hoping that by the end of August, first week in September, we'll be able to bring that board together.
What will the mandate of that board?
What's that?
What will be the mandate of that board?
The mandate of that board would be to look at the data within the country, to create programs, and to look at how we put forward to the national community programs indicating why we need to be productive, how we need to be productive, how it impacts our trade and industry, to create policy papers and decisions and so on for government to follow, to engage unions, workers, and so on with regards to productivity issues, to run campaigns about productivity, both in media, social, print, otherwise, and to provide some basic labor market information that creates the standards so that we could compare our productivity. Generally, that is what they...
Data and information is one thing, public awareness is great, but a lot of the public sector productivity issues has to do with the present structure of the public sector and the way we do things, which is more akin to 30, 40 years ago. And there's been a lot of conversation from the Minister of Public Admin and other ministries about restructuring the public sector to facilitate more productivity. With the issue of digitization and all of that is part of that conversation. And we haven't heard a lot about that. We heard about digitization during the pandemic, and we seem to have gone all the way back to go back to the office and work. And those components that can add, if affected properly, to aid public sector workers in particular, and also impact the private sector in a more productive environment. Structure is important. The way we do things cannot be the way we did things 40 years ago. And that is a big part of it, in addition to what you described as public awareness, data gathering, etc.
All right, I have three things to say on that. One, on the public administration side, the restructuring of the public service is quite an extensive exercise, in that once you restructure, jobs change, and therefore you have to do job analysis and new job descriptions and so on, and that will take some time. I am told that they're coming close to the end of that, and therefore within the end of this fiscal, maybe early fiscal, I don't want to speak for the Minister of Public Admin, but they should be finished with some of the crucial work they're doing. Secondly, on digitization also is reflective of the processes and so on that come out of those job descriptions, the technology, the hardware, the software, and so on. And those are not overnight fixes. But on the issue of productivity, the third thing I would say is that management need to manage. And very often what people speak to about productivity is the fact that that managers are not managing, because people cannot come to work and sit whole day, do nothing, managers sit and watch them, and then say they're not productive.
Managers also need to be managed by PSs and divisional heads.
Yeah, well, that's so what I'm saying. Everybody have to manage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to. It's not a one that you put structures in place, you put systems in place, and then you don't manage it. And part of my beef in general, in terms of how we work in Trinidad, is managers do not take the accountability for managing and creating an output at a level that is in relation to what you're paying people.
So are HR systems in place and operating effectively then? Because that's part of effective management, and there are programs and software to do that, to ensure that managers are performing tasks diligently and also managing their wards. And if the wards are not You offer training, you offer incentives, and then you act in different ways if you can't get people to deliver as they're being paid to.
Right. So on the issue, so I'm just saying that, and I agree with you, and I'm saying that on the issue of productivity, it is not just about systems and structures. I think the people component is also critical, and that's my basic point.
There's culture change then. The big two words in the country these days are minimum wage. How soon will we get some information? The budget is coming up. I don't know if you want to give us a hint, not jumping in front of the Minister of Finance, but Professor, before I put you in trouble, how soon will we get word? And is it the general position of the government that minimum wage will increase?
I will answer it this way. We have a minimum wages board that do tremendous work in terms of looking at inflation and how looking at a number of data points, both in the public sector and sectorially. So they do work on minimum wages for agriculture workers, for people involved in the entertainment industry, and they do quite a bit of work. They have delivered to me a report recently that suggests a particular movement in the minimum wage. I have taken that document and I would have made a recommendation to Cabinet with regards to where the minimum wage should be. Now, Cabinet is currently looking at that report, and we are actively discussing it because it impacts so many things that we have to make what we consider the right decision. I do not want to say that it is next week or week after or a month from now or within the budget, because Cabinet has the ultimate authority to decide whether the recommendation is accepted or whether it stays status quo.
What would be inaccurate in quoting when doing a story and saying minister recommends increase in minimum wage?
I would say that is quite true. That would not be inaccurate, but as long as people recognize it's a recommendation and it's not a fait accompli, then that would be very true.
So our banner story this morning could be Minister of Labor recommends minimum wage increase.
And I'm saying that is from what I've said to you, that is true. I would have looked at it and I would have made a recommendation, but I also want to say that in that headline you could say awaiting Cabinet approval.
You're right on the story now.
No, just in terms of truth.
I understand the need for accuracy. You don't want to put yourself in a position, we don't want to put you in a position of quoting something you did not say. Is it in the range of what has been recommended? I know some people are recommending double, which I know that will cause some serious issues in the private sector and the public sector. It'll increase public sector wages, it'll increase private sector wages. There are implications for potential job losses, staggering of hours. What range would you suggest is the recommendation?
Well, I have no range to recommend at the moment, except what I would have think. But what I would say to the whole issue of this minimum wage thing is that the unions at their Labor Day celebrations would have asked for a 70% increase that takes it to $30 a minimum. When we do our calculations, we see that each employee will now earn an additional $2,000 a month with that particular recommended increase. Now, we know that, and I think anybody looking at it would know that $30 is not a go. I could say that off without fear of contradiction. Any economist, any business person you speak to will tell you $30 will wreak havoc and create a lot of mayhem both in the economy and in jobs in terms of losses and so on. I think they have been calling for the union has also been calling for a living wage, which is now a new go-to internationally and so on, rather than a minimum wage. We are still at the minimum wage level and not at the living wage level, because the living wage level assumes that your full basket of goods is totally taken care of under the wage that you get. I think we are not as developed yet, neither is our economy as robust as to go towards a living wage. I would think that we need to balance the wages. If we look at trends in wages over the couple of years, we started, especially the PNM government, in a sense, since 2003, we have increased the minimum wage by 14%, in 2005 by 12.5, in 2010 we did 39%, and on December 19 we did 17% in terms of increases. So I will just give you a hint and take down those numbers and see what the average kind of looks like.
But $30, Minister, $30 an hour works out to $240 in an 8-hour day.
Yes.
And $240 per day is not unimaginable and is at the lower end of earnings for workers in Trinidad and Tobago in 2023. $240 a day for a 5-day work week works out to $1,200 a week, which works out to $4,800 a month.
Yeah.
And you're saying that's untenable and that's ridiculous?
I am saying that by itself may sound beautiful, but when extracted,
I don't find it sounds beautiful at all. $4,800 to survive in Trinidad and Tobago in 2023 a month.
Okay, but let me put it this way: a small or medium-sized business with 10 people, right? That represents a $20,000 increase on their wage bill for the month. Who do you think is going to pay that $20,000 additional? One, the consumer, so you heat up the economy and inflation starts to skyrocket. Two, he might say at $20,000 additionally, maybe I need to cut back 5 employees. So I send home 5 employees. When I send home 5 employees, I have to work the additional 5 the 5 that I have to work them overtime and harder. You have a number of things. So you have inflationary pressure, you have job losses, you have reduced purchasing power of households, because as those prices go on, people, you think things expensive now, wait till then. You have wage compression, you have so many things. You have competitiveness that a lot of people use in the manufacturing sector that is going to go away. And therefore, you're going to see reductions in exports. You're going to see a number of things happening. So, on a personal note, I hear you, Richard, with the $4,800 does not seem to be a high figure within the context of what cost of living generally seems to be in Trinidad and Tobago. But doing so would create a lot more difficulty than you would imagine the benefits it will bring.
Overall. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. We're hoping to have you back on to talk, at least in a couple of weeks, on the issue of if your ministry is looking at AI and its impact on jobs in the country down the road, because other countries are looking at those things. And also, we didn't have time to talk about Point 14 and the local government election, but how do you feel about that generally?
Well, I am in the Labre seat. I'm
Labre,
happy
sorry. Yeah.
for my colleagues in Point 14. They did well. We are neighbors. But in Labre, we are the same place we have been for the last 30 years, where we have in a 9-member council, the PNM has 3 seats and the UNC has 6. And from time to time, we may pick up a 4th, but in general, that has been the trend. So there are no surprises there. I think we ran a good ground game in that our candidates really did work their constituencies and try to sell the whole reform of government, the reform of local government, and we stuck to that as our clarion call, and we avoided all the other issues that are synonymous with a general election. So it's status quo in Labre as we speak.
We see how it evolves. Minister, thanks for being with us this morning. Looking forward to chatting with you not too long again.
Okay.
On some of the other issues coming in. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all the best.
We've been talking to Minister of Labour, Stephen McClatchy. He's also MP for Labre. And of course, we're standing by now to have a chat with Kiran Singh from the South Business Chamber. He's on, but not in front of his camera yet. So I guess we could say we know minimum wage has been recommended to be increased. This is what's happening in. All right, Kiran is on now. Morning, Kiran Singh.
Good morning, Senators. Always a pleasure to be on.
Thanks for being with us this morning. Let me change your name tag. Yeah, is that the correct designation?
Well, it's actually the Greater San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, but South Business Chamber works.
That kind of long. That ain't gonna fit across the screen. Thanks for joining us this morning. I don't know much of the conversation with the Minister of Labour you heard. If any of
I managed to get some of it.
And the issue, let's start with the minimum wage issue from your perspective from the private sector and what that would mean.
Well, we understand the plight of the minimum wage workers, that some increase is necessary from their point of view. And we share that. We certainly understand their budgetary constraints, especially given the background of a cost of living increase over the last couple of years. The pandemic, of course, exacerbating the situation, as well as other world economy factors that would govern our cost, our factors of production. And what we realize is that this discussion is necessary and that some increase may be necessary at some point going forward to enable and support the lower income workers within our society.
What would be comfortable for the private sector? Has that discussion taken place? The minister and several other persons have spoken about the issue of the 70% increase as proposed by some unions. Richard quite very well mathematically described what that would mean additionally. And it's still on the lower end in terms of the general cost of living issues in the country. But we also understand the implications of potential job losses or staggered hours, etc., and the increase in production costs for private sector companies.
The effect could be, we could end up in a situation where, while we're trying to save the lower income workers and increase their take-home salaries, that they are not faced with increased cost of goods and services at the cash register, because of the simple fact that the cost of production, the cost of providing any service or any goods will automatically increase. And as an example, the workers that fall within the category that we are looking at would be like security guards, cleaners, janitorial services. These are the ones that tend to get laid off first in any potential increase in the cost of someone running their own business. And especially those within the SME sector, we are very challenged with cash flow issues. We still have VAT refund outstanding. We still have tax to pay, utilities. There's the threat of the increase of utilities, especially TNTEC, and the looming property tax. So there are a lot of surrounding factors that are being put upon the business person, and how do we deal with that? And of course, the minimum wage discussion has now come up and it's now being ventilated throughout the public. And we have to be very careful as to how we balance an increase in the minimum wage versus what the unions may want. The argument for $30 from their point of view may be warranted, but from the business point of view, that may be very difficult to sustain over a long period of time. The minister was quite right. When a small business, not even for 10 workers, has 5 workers, that increase at the end of the month to meet that demand, to pay these workers, is going to be a very serious challenge. And the money has to come from somewhere. We did notice, though, that the conglomerates continue to make record profits. The banking sector continue to make record profits. But this hasn't come down the stream to the smaller retailers, the smaller manufacturers, the smaller wholesalers, those who contribute to the economy and still provide employment to those who could not seek employment elsewhere. And these conglomerates, they would outsource goods and services from smaller companies, from smaller individuals that we see. We had a South Market recently in Gulf City, and that was, it portrayed talent and potential for what we have from our country to provide smaller goods and services to the country. But if that minimum wage increases, these persons that produce within their household type environment could face a challenge of not being able to increase their output, which would then increase the potential for net foreign exchange, which increases the potential to increase their own employment. And we don't want to defeat the potential of increasing employment, which we are being challenged with right now. Unemployment is increasing, unfortunately, given the economic factors that we are faced with. Oil and gas, we know where that is going. We still very challenged. We still are oil and gas based economy. Diversification is still on the table. We still need to find ways of generating other forms of income. Net foreign exchange, of course, being at the top of the agenda from a financial perspective. And until that happens, we have to be very careful of how we look at increasing any expenditures throughout the economy. Senator.
Is there a level of the increase in the minimum wage that the business community is comfortable with?
We haven't pinpointed an exact number that we would be comfortable with in increasing the minimum wage to, but we would have hoped that there would have been a more roundtable type discussion with us as to what would be a fair and equitable increase for workers that the business community is comfortable with, that the trade union movement is comfortable with. And of course, the minimum wage workers that comprise such a portion of the workforce can survive. And we also have to look at the equitable balance and the distribution of income between lower level income workers and higher level income workers. When we approach that $5,000 minimum wage, if it is increased to $30, for example, it then impacts on persons who are tertiary level educated, who have degrees, and some of them can't even get a job for $5,000 a month. And so it could create somewhat of a disparity and a disadvantage into pursuing education and even technical jobs and even trade jobs if we pursue this route without careful consideration to the entire workforce and the income stream that goes from one end of the scale to the other end.
How much is the issue of security and crime still impacting businesses? I saw a comment from you in the newspaper recently about the issue of crime in the South and its impact on business.
Unfortunately, crime continues to plague us. Instead of, it's not even plateauing to say that we are not getting worse. The crime situation, criminality, the youths that are involved in committing these crimes is increasing exponentially. And I keep making this point, the San Fernando Chamber is extremely worried about not only its impact on business, but the entire society. It seems we have stepped up the game. Instead of single murders, we now have double murders. Frontline in the newspapers and the mainstream news and social media. something is wrong. It has become so matter of fact and the norm that when you hear about a murder, you turn the page.
We were talking about it this morning. We saw 13 murders recorded over the weekend, and it was like just another day. And that's unfortunate.
Another day in paradise. This is unfortunate. And it begs the question to you, and we hope that the TTPS is listening, that we would hope that they would be more aggressive in their crime fighting techniques. Where's the solution to crime? The detection rate remains abysmally low. We see no end to murder rates, which, if it goes unchecked, we will surpass last year's record. And where we are going as a society, there's no care, the youths don't have any respect for the elders, for authorities in society. They run out, they're not afraid of the security cameras, they're not afraid of someone else has a licensed firearm, and they have such high-powered weapons. Where is the weapons coming from? Where's the ammunition to put into these weapons? Where it is coming from? I don't know if, when we talk as a society, if we realize how expensive one of these weapons, it is an extremely expensive tool that these young guys walking around with, and obviously they're unemployed. It's not to say they can pick this up from their house. And the ammunition to put into these weapons is an expensive item. Where is that coming from? Where is the training coming from? These guys, when we see it on social media, they're very, very proficient in how they use these weapons. They must be getting training somewhere. You cannot just pick up a gun and fire it at will and kill people. Training has to be involved in how these youths are attacking people at will, jumping into their vehicles and escaping. And we have all the technology in the world. We're in 2023. And we can't apprehend a single person for a murder in a drive-by, in a shooting of persons sitting in a car, relaxing. You're not even safe in your own house. Home invasions have increased to such an extent that you're sleeping with one eye open. Where are we going? You sleep with burglar proof? Is it so the innocent persons are in jail and the bandits out there running around the place? And we need to hear a more serious statement from the Commissioner of Police as to how we are going to deal with this crime situation. How are we going to get the numbers down? How do we get the society to feel safe again? We listen to that.
Are your members or your chamber in conversation with the divisional heads in South, the police service, about solutions at all? Are they collaborating with you?
Actually, I'm having a meeting with them this evening to engage in them and what can be done, or what should be done, or what are they doing, or can we assist in some way?
That suggests the meetings are not regular or scheduled. Would that be correct?
I believe that we should have more regular meetings. It shouldn't be that the business community should have to be reaching out to the TTPS to request a meeting, but that it should be some sort of more collaborative effort where we get together and say, listen, let's see how we can deal with this situation that is spiraling out of control. The gang warfare continues. Is it that gangs are being allowed to do as they wish to eliminate the problem unofficially from the society and hope that it all goes away? Innocent people who have been caught in the crossfire, they are being fatally wounded by gangs who are engaging each other for want of public attention, for their own grandiose achievement within their own framework of being able to join a gang and being able to boast about being in which gang you are in because of the number of kills you had or the number of robberies you had, and how brave you are and how young you are to be able to engage in such a deadly criminal activity that our society just one generation ago had no idea about. We were such a kind, loving, peaceful society, and that has now disappeared. We know every single person in this country has a relation or a friend who has been affected by robbery with fatal.
What percentage of business operations now is security because of this crime situation? Generally,
could you repeat that, Senator? Sorry.
What percentage generally of your business operations would be, would be security costs?
It's escalating. It started, I would think somewhere around 10%, but it's increasing to 20, just over 20%, and it could increase further based on the minimum wage discussions on how that go. In addition to if we need to increase the physical labor force within the security parameters of the business enterprise, or that may decrease based on the quantum of increase that comes whenever it comes. And these security guards also have families to provide for, children, spouses, their own households. And so we have to be very careful in how we engage in the minimum wage discussion to ensure that they are still employed as opposed to being told to go home, because we just can't afford to subsidize a salary for you anymore.
Is Forex still an issue? A redundant or a rhetorical question, I guess.
It brings me back to the earlier point that the commercial banks continue to make huge profits. And you go into the bank and you can get 100 US. Now, some people would say there's no correlation between the two. And some people will be right, some may not be right, because of the fact that we have so many other types of goods that come into the country that don't seem to be as necessary as others are. Food is a necessity, clothing is a necessity, but is the amount of motor vehicles that are coming into the country so necessary for us at this point in time? As an example, that is using our foreign exchange. And we'll get into the free market discussion. Well, we should be allowed to import anything we need or anything we want. But our economy is not as vibrant, is not as buoyant as it was some years ago. So we now have to choose what we should be importing on a large scale and what we can cut back on to increase our efficiencies, to save our foreign exchange. We have a cover, trade cover, import cover of 6 months, I believe. But the oil and gas prices, if they remain where they are or they drop, we could be in further problems because of the fact that our production is not increasing. So our foreign exchange earnings has decreased. And where
shouldn't the issue rather than the lens of cutting back, and which is what you're suggesting, and analyzing what we need, what we don't need to save foreign exchange, shouldn't the lens be how can we increase dramatically our earnings from a foreign exchange perspective, and what kind of infrastructure the government needs to put in place to make businesses and manufacturers even more competitive and even more, to drive more sales externally, rather than looking at it from the lens of let's conserve, which is a defensive position rather than an aggressive forward-moving position. Isn't that the better lens?
I certainly agree, and that's why I did say earlier in the discussion that diversification remains on the table. We have a tourism product that should be greater developed to increase foreign exchange. We have so many natural ecotourism products that can be afforded to us at basically no cost to the country, but we can get people to come in, and we can benefit from that. We have so many natural products that agriculturally speaking, of course, that we can enhance. The cocoa, we know is world class. I boast about this. We were in a visit to Belgium some time ago, and in the museum, the chocolate museum, to my very pleasant surprise, I was quite happy to see that Trinidad and Tobago was featured there as the #1 exporter of one of the best types of cocoa in the world. And
Trinitarian.
Yes, and historically speaking, that is not something new. And this is such a nice secret that very few people know about, and we should be exploiting this. Now, I did see some potential of that in the South market recently, where persons are engaging in making downstream products from the cocoa, wine, chocolate, skincare products. And there's such potential for that to increase, to export, even through to the Caribbean neighbors, before we even go international, that we can build our brands, that Trinidad and Tobago, the home of one of the best cocoa in the world, has all these products that we offer from the original product that we have here. We have Lake Asphalt. We have so many opportunities to generate net foreign exchange that we have to wonder, why is it not happening? We should have more engaging discussions with the state, with the government, with the trade unions as to how we maximize the potentials that we have to offer as a society and the economy to increase our productivity, increase the GDP, increase our expansion of generating net foreign exchange, because we are still by and large import driven. Even in the manufacturing sector, a lot of the inputs we have to import to put together in order to export it. So even the still generates that level of utilizing foreign exchange. And it's a discussion that is ongoing, but I think that more input has to be put into it. I know that there are several discussions going on all the time as to how we should increase net foreign exchange, but it is happening too slowly. We need to be, as you rightly said, we need to be more aggressive in how we generate this foreign exchange, how we look to add in to the income product.
And part of the problem is this thing, because oftentimes when and this is my answer, and I don't know if Paul agrees, but the state always seems to see us as an energy economy, and that's what we are. And so the urgency in terms of the kind of urgency that Caribbean islands have, let's say, for example, with the tourism product, because it's do or die. We don't have that kind of urgency, which works against us in terms of that kind of diversification, because at the back of the mind is always, well, we're an energy economy and we're still earning the majority of our income in terms of foreign exchange from the energy industry. Whereas for Jamaica, tourism is do or die. Barbados or the Bahamas, tourism is do or die. So they're pouring and constantly looking at innovation and ways to make sure that the product is as premium as possible. Whereas in a Trinidad and Tobago context, because you mentioned tourism as one of the planks, it's like, well, it doesn't have that do or die urgency, which works against us.
We have a lot we could benefit from with the tourism product, but our mindset, I think, the way we look at tourism has to change, I think, a little more differently from what it is pervading to be right now. I think when we talk to people, and we've been around a couple generations with the boom and depression of the oil and gas scenario. So we've benefited from the couple booms that we have had, but we've also had to live through. At our ages, we would know we had to live through the depression of when there was a slump in that industry. And in order to get away from that, the diversification is the only way to save us from that. And I wonder if sometimes if the society wasn't spoiled from the benefits that we derive from the energy sector, where we didn't have to care about tourism, we didn't have to care about agriculture, we didn't have to care about anything else, because the amount of money we were getting from the energy sector, it didn't matter if other sectors of the economy weren't performing as well, because the petrochemicals with their Point Lisas was flourishing, Petrochin was there, and now these industries are challenged to a large extent. There's some discussion though going on about talk centers that coming in, and I think that is a positive thing that would immediately create jobs for hundreds of people, plus generate income, and that also could add to the total product that we offer from our shores. And again, that would also tie in back to the minimum wage aspect of it, that if our cost of labor increases at a faster rate than the production rate, it will deter foreign investors from coming in to invest within our shores to increase our GDP into the 2023 and beyond.
Mr. Singh, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. We appreciate your time and your contribution. Be safe.
Thank you again for being invited to have a discussion with you guys on Trinidad and Tobago. Be safe out there. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Skaran Singh from the South Chamber of Commerce. You all have a great day. Be safe. I done.
All right,
No,
Trinidad and
no,
Tobago.
what you're going to do. I done.
Yeah. And Trinidad and Tobago, have a fantastic day. And of course, reminding you that theatre will be on one final performance of What You're Looking at Miss So 4 at Naparima Bowl next week, Saturday, the 2nd of September at 8:30 p.m. Tickets go on sale from Friday. From Friday. Yeah.
From Friday?
Friday. Today's
Oh,
what?
this Friday for next week Sunday, 2nd.
For next week Saturday, yeah.
Saturday.
So from this Friday, tickets will be on sale at the usual outlets. I'll remind you, trust me, and the Naparima Bowl box office next week. Have a fantastic day. Whatever you do, remember to smile and laugh. It's good for your health.
All right, gentlemen, you have a good one. Be safe in all that you do. Folks, let's get into our 8 o'clock news brief. Gregory's in.